Hello and welcome to another edition of the Skycast, the sort of Sky Sports fancy football version of the FPL focused Scoutcast. Today we're looking ahead to a mammoth Gameweek 24 and the extremely small but perhaps perfectly formed Gameweek 25. My name is Joe and joining me is Luke. Luke, how are you?
I'm all good for a minute there. I thought you were going to talk about my head there.
Oh,
Really small and perfectly formed. I was like waiting for a comment, but I was
no.
waiting to introduce me. But no, okay, yeah, the game week that makes more sense. Yeah, looking forward to it. Can't wait. A lot of captains to be had.
Yeah, it's a tough set of fixtures because we know that the overhaul follows and that game week 25 is really tiny. I mean, I've got all the fixtures here. There's so many fixtures over the next game week 24 and including 25 that they can all fit in one page. But I'm just going to put them up briefly now, and then we'll go through them in earnest and try and have a look at who we're captaining on each of these days. So this is the sort of the first batch so people can see, and then we move over, and then it goes across the Wednesday, the Thursday, and then the following Wednesday we've got a cheeky little game week 25 West Ham against Liverpool. So let's go back to the first image again. So the first of this mammoth game week 24. Just before we do that though, I've just got to mention, because I'm sure Aguero might fit in somewhere or perhaps not. Now we're looking for the overhaul. We've got some questions about that coming up, particularly around Liverpool assets pre-overhaul. But Aguero, he broke the game, broke my game anyway last weekend, Man City. So I only had De Bruyne, captained him, but those that had City assets really shot up the rankings. I didn't have Aguero. Did you have Aguero at all?
I did not have Aguero, sadly. De Bruyne still did the duty for us, though, didn't he? In a way,
Yeah.
he still got. Did he get 2 assists? I think he got two.
Yeah, he
He
still
got
did
eight.
okay.
He got 8 points, didn't he? So it's one of those ones where it's nice to see Maverick play rewarded. It's a risky one in Sky, I think, even more than FPL because obviously you don't have a bench, and the fact that we didn't get to see the lineups. You are taking a gamble that the guy even plays. Obviously, if he does, he's got massive potential. But for me, it's also like, yeah, you take your hats off. But to bring in Aguero there, I'm less risk taking in Sky. And when you compare Aguero's scores to, say, Kevin De Bruyne's scores, who we've already got in play each individual week for the whole
Yeah,
season, I think Aguero only outscores him, I think, twice, which is
yeah,
including the one that happened this week. So, you're taking a big risk there, even if you bring him in and then captain him, that De Bruyne doesn't outscore him anyway, and it was essentially a waste of a transfer. But hats off, they got a hat trick. This stuff of dreams, so well done.
yeah. I mean, I didn't get him in either because it's a precious transfer. I didn't know whether he was going to start. In the Sky game, you can make transfers right up to the deadline of the first match that day. So if Man City's not the first match of that day, I can't risk whether it's going to be Jesus up front, Aguero up front. I don't know who it's going to be. Whereas I can pretty much certain that Kevin De Bruyne is going to play. He's already in my team, so I've already got a captain. So, and I think that's the rationale. Lots of people there, but yeah, as you said, those that made that move. I remember a couple of seasons ago, I got Sanchez in when he was good for Manchester United. Well, for one game for Manchester United and Arsenal briefly towards the end of his Arsenal career. I think it was against Palace. I can't remember whether he played for Arsenal or Manchester United during that time, but I remember it being a huge rank swing. It was like something like a 50-point return. And that's the sort of move you can make. But taking the punt on a precious transfer, delivering that result, that wasn't for me. Hats off to those that did. Let's move on. Game week 24-25. Okay, so let's look. So the Saturday of game week 24, Saturday the 18th of January. Got a few options, I think, for the captaincy there. We've got Watford against Spurs, Arsenal against Sheffield United, Brighton against Villa, City against Palace, Norwich against Bournemouth, Southampton, Wolves, West Ham v Everton, Newcastle against Chelsea. Who would be your captain that day?
It's Kevin De Bruyne, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if you were one of the ones who got Aguero in, you're probably going to be eyeing him up for that game as well.
Yeah.
But I think De Bruyne is head and shoulders above every other pick at the moment on that day.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could argue, again, you get to see Spurs' team sheet, so that is always a benefit. But at the end of the day, Watford have been fantastic of late and Spurs have been pretty awful. So probably an avoid on that one. And then in the late game, 5:30, Chelsea versus Newcastle. Tammy Abraham's had a bit of a resurgence of late. He's still Well, I say still, they stay the same price. He's 8.3 million. He's still a great pick up front, so cheap. So he's an outside option, but it's got to be a City player, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm on Kevin De Bruyne there as well. We had for the FPL focused captaincy video and podcast that myself and David did earlier in the week. That showed that basically, historically and in stats form, City attack against the Palace defence should work. Should bring you points. Kevin De Bruyne, we should play. I mean, that all adds up to captain him. The rest of them, yeah, I guess if you've got Richarlison, which you have, against West Ham, that would be a differential captaincy I would perhaps consider. But
I think when you add in, it's just basically when you got City at home, you're thinking there's a good, and Palace will likely play very deep. Yeah. There's a very good chance that they're going to be getting passes across the board. Even De Bruyne might be chipping in there, so that's a factor. You'd imagine there's going to be a ridiculous amounts of shots. So it's all these bonus points and City are just so on song at the moment again, which is good to see for fantasy assets. I mean, it's been a while now, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, not just in the Premier League but outside of it, where they've looked bang on it. So, I mean, Mahrez is another name that's been thrown out there. If you've got him and you think he'll start, you could reap some rewards from that. It's just the whole 3 o'clock kickoff and not knowing the lineups. It's painful.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk it with City at the moment. Just when we're getting to the overhaul, it's possible on the overhaul I might take a risk there, loading up a bit more on City, possibly. But we'll discuss that on a future video. Sunday, 19th of January, Burnley against Leicester, Liverpool, Manchester United. Well, ordinarily I would say Vardy for this one. Burnley are there for the taking. But I do wonder whether the likes of Salah, Mane, Rashford's in your team as well. They could be options. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that one's straightforward. I mean, Burnley haven't been great, but when they're at home and Leicester have been on a bit of a downturn of late, and obviously Vardy hasn't been doing that well. So it's one of those ones where, on paper, the fixture still makes sense for Vardy. He's still got penalties. He's still obviously a great pick in his own right. So, and also you get to see the lineup, and he'll be starting there. I mean, you'd imagine the lineups for Liverpool and Man United anyway, but so I'd say he's probably still the safer play. And the Liverpool Man United game, they're just so hard to call these games. We could see just a routine Liverpool win as usual, 2-3-0 win, like they seem to dispatch every team. But then Man United, sometimes we turn up to these games, so you never know really. So I think there'll be quite a wide variety. I think there'll be a lot of Team A, Team B on different captains that day.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I'm going to go Vardy because I'm just playing it safe pre-overhaul at the moment. And now I didn't have Aguero. I went for KDB that day, and I've been pretty much playing it pretty standard, loading up on Liverpool, doing the sensible things. And I have dropped, but only by a few hundred rank places. So I'm pretty much staying almost the same. I'm in the same territory. I'm not drastically falling. So I just think I'm going to keep doing it. I'm just going to keep soldiering on until that overhaul, and then that's the crucial time. I want to protect those transfers now. I'm down to 17. Some people have got much less than that, but I want to go into those final game weeks with more transfers when rotation hits, and especially
definitely
when we know the team sheets. Tuesday, a whole bunch more matches. We do know the Man City lineup then because it's at 7:30 kickoff there, so it's one of a number of 7:30 matches. So it's Sheffield United against Man City. Interesting. Sheffield United, not the pushovers that we thought they were at the beginning of the season. Villa against Watford, Bournemouth against Brighton, Everton against Newcastle. That's where your Richarlison captaincy could come in handy. Palace against Southampton. If anyone there's got Danny Ings, that sounds quite a good one. And Chelsea against Arsenal. That's annoying. I can't think of a good captaincy for that one. And Aubameyang will probably be still suspended for that one. I'm probably going to go safe with City. What about you?
Yeah, it's going to be one where we're probably going to judge it on the night based on the lineups a little bit. But in the back of my mind, if City have absolutely dispatched Palace the week before, and they look on song, then I think it's going to largely be Kevin De Bruyne. Whoever starts for Man City is going to be your pick. But yeah, if you've got Richarlison, like I have, home to Newcastle, is a consideration. It's just, for me, it's just like Richarlison seems to be one of those players who he does well over a period of time. You put him in your team and you leave him there. But when you sort of target a game when you think, oh, I'll make him captain for that week, if they're at home to Minnows, he should do really well. He often seems to let me down in those sort of games where they don't really do anything. So it'll be one for the night. Richarlison will be in the back of my mind, and I'll have to think about it.
Well, I think it's one of those things, because it's the game week's coming, thick and fast. If De Bruyne's not in the starting lineup there, if I were you and I had Richarlison, well, I would just take a risk, go for that one, because Newcastle away are pretty awful this season, mostly. But I don't know what I'll do. I'm going to have to hatch a plan for what to do if Kevin De Bruyne is not in the starting lineup there. And I think...
it's some people who've got Grealish. Again, Watford have been really good of late. But when you Villa at home to Watford, you'd expect that they'll defend deep Watford, and Grealish will be on the ball a lot in that game. Crowd behind him and stuff. So
I think I would reluctantly go Grealish as a backup, but you have to make these decisions quickly. It's like 7:30 you get the team lineup, you've got to make it's 6:30 you get the lineup, 7:30 you've got to make your move by. You got and that's the time when if you've got kids and things and it's dinner and trying to make a quick transfer there. I've made many a mistake in Sky over the years because I've just frantically. So I've got to I need a plan B. Could be Grealish. Let's move on. We've got over to the fixtures. So I'm over to having a look at fixture 2, image 2 for this one. We're moving into Wednesday. Leicester against West Ham, Spurs against Norwich, Manchester United against Burnley. Now this is intriguing. I think there's a lot of options here and I don't know yet. It could be Vardy. I think if I had Rashford I'd be very tempted by that. And if I had any Spurs players still knocking around, that would be a tempter as well. For me, probably Vardy, but if I had one of those others, I'd be very tempted by a Manchester United asset. How about you?
Yeah, I've got Rashford, and I think Rashford probably is just above Vardy on that day at the moment. Just because David Moyes had a little bit of a result since he's come into West Ham and sort of revived them a bit, and Leicester's still on that downturn. Again, we don't know. The week before that may show that Leicester have turned it around and it's starting looking top tier again. We don't know. And Burnley could have kept. Who did they play the week before? I've forgotten. Leicester. Again, it was Leicester, wasn't it? So if they managed to get a result against Leicester, you don't know. But Rashford so far has just been so consistent. He's close to Van Dijk levels of pretty much 10 points every game he plays. He would be the standout. I'd imagine Man United will have a lot of the ball at home and he will be taking a lot of shots. So he'd probably be my pick.
Yeah, I removed Rashford a little while ago for Mane. I think I'm more or less broken even with that. So I've essentially wasted a transfer, really. But I'm going to want Mane for the next fixtures, as we can see. So we move into Thursday. We've got Wolves against Liverpool. It has to be a Liverpool asset. Here's the question, though. Do you go for the likes of Van Dijk or do you go for the likes of Salah, Mane? Because in the Sky game, as we've seen, Van Dijk's a 10-point-a-game player. But is he any more? And is Salah and Mane perhaps 2-point or maybe more? I don't know. Who are you going for there?
In most games, I would say Van Dijk is the better captain. Like now we've stepped into Liverpool of old. If it continues on this trend, Van Dijk will be the highest scoring player in the game. It's madness. Wolves haven't been great in terms of goals of late as well, so that factors in, I think. So I would say at this moment Van Dijk probably stands out, because also the fact is I can't see Liverpool scoring four or five goals. They could do, but I would have thought Wolves are a good team. They're probably going to be getting 2 goals, maybe 3 Liverpool, like at most. And then you think, well, you pick one of Salah or Mane, you could get unlucky. You'll just get a piece of that. And at the end of the day, you may get nothing. Whereas Van Dijk, even if they concede a goal, he's probably going to be getting 5 points anyway for the passing bonus, because Wolves obviously sit quite deep and try to counter. So you're looking at 5 or 10 for Van Dijk, and then you're looking at 2 or maybe up to 10, 12 for one of Salah or Mane. So I think given that sort of window, I think Van Dijk's still the standout pick.
Let's move on to Gameweek 25, just the one fixture. West Ham against Liverpool. So once again, this is where hopefully I'm going to get paid back for that Rashford-Mane move. So West Ham against Liverpool. West Ham at home, Liverpool away. This one, I'm tempted. I'm more erring on the side of a Liverpool attacker for this one, but I would like to see how Randolph is in goal. They've just signed him today for West Ham, so they've actually got a real live proper goalkeeper for a change. So that might persuade me elsewhere. So we've got a game to have a look at him. But yeah, I'm erring on Salah or Mane for this one rather than Van Dijk. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I still think Van Dijk might still be the better pick, but at the end of the day, Salah, it's because West Ham's defence, like you said, in the goalkeeper situation, there is a tempter there to move it to one of those two. There's also going to be the fact that they're playing these two games within like 4 or 5 days of each other, so there could be some rotation. So the lineup might dictate who we actually go with. So yeah, I'd be more inclined to go for an attacker in that one, I think, and possibly will do. I mean, I don't have Van Dijk, so that's not an option for me. But if you're sensible and actually do have him, then I still think he's probably the standout again.
Yeah, and I think the fear of rotation with, say, Salah and Mane is dispelled because, as people see from the dates there for this one, Thursday 23rd of January and then Wednesday the 29th of January. So league-wise, there shouldn't be any problem with rotation. It just depends on obviously Liverpool's other commitments and whatever goes on in training or blah blah. So I think relatively safe, hopefully. For this one. Let's move on to have a look at the bonus point stars. Those who are looking, been racking up the bonus points in recent weeks. I've done it for the last 4 game weeks or so in FPL terms, last 4 game weeks. So, but it just gives an indication of who's racking up the bonus in Sky recently. Once again, we can see that those Liverpool defenders, Van Dijk in particular, is really getting those bonuses. That's why he's getting those 10 points a game. Fernandinho's still there, our old favourite. But intriguingly, Henderson is there. Now, I wonder with Henderson, if someone has got loads of transfers left and they just really want to go to town on Liverpool, they're stocked up on defenders, they've got Salah, Mane in place. Henderson's possibly an intriguing little differential. But what worries me is the kind of ceiling floor thing. I think you might get 10 points a match out of him. But...
We've been here before with Henderson as well. He actually had, at one point, I don't know if you can remember, Joe, he was like a mainstay of our Sky team.
One season. I do remember, yeah.
Extremely cheap.
The Harry Arter of the North.
That was it. I think it was the Suarez, Sturridge, Sterling season where Henderson just was dictating everything in the centre of midfield, and he was incredibly cheap. So, yeah, I can see that. It's the Liverpool stacking argument. If you're thinking he's going to be getting those 10 points, and we've got, 3 or 4 games, then you're looking at 30, 40 points for him, then I can't argue with the move. So, yeah, he's potentially an option, especially when there's such a dearth of like good midfielders.
Yeah, there is.
I
mean, I'm looking down the list as well. There's various others around from Wolves as well. But, I mean, realistically, pre-overhaul, I'm not looking at elsewhere. Pereira's there. He's your man in your team at the moment still. Is that right? So it's good.
Yeah, that's right. And he's only actually played 3 games as well in the last 4 weeks on your table there as well. So he's still featuring in there. So yeah, he's consistent with bonus nearly every week. That's why he's like a budget version of a Liverpool defender.
He is, and intriguingly, Maguire's there. So this is something to pay attention to. Some early thoughts around the overhaul. I'm not suggesting get Maguire in, but I'm just thinking it's intriguing that he's there in terms of getting bonus. So if you're looking at the overhaul, what you want those steady Eddie scorers each week. The top teams tend to tighten up defensively as the season goes on. The so-called minnows, the promoted teams, tend to their squad gets a bit exposed, or the lack of squad rather. But there's some interesting names there. We've got some questions from the community. One of them draws on that theme really. I was thinking about Henderson. It was from Ollie Paul. It says, are transfers pre-overhaul only for Liverpool assets? For me, I would say yes. E.g., he's got 16 transfers and he wants to get rid of Ali, but he's maxed out on defenders. He's only got a bit more to spare. So, if you're in that position and you are stocked up with Salah and Mane, could a Liverpool midfielder like Henderson actually be not a bad shout for a couple of matches pre-overhaul?
Yeah, I'm with you. I would just keep him, to be honest. 16 transfers, I think that's fine. I don't think Spurs games are bad enough that you want to get rid of. I can understand, with their form and wanting to move him on. I can completely understand that, but we're so close to that overhaul now. And you look, they're playing Watford, Norwich, which is obviously some pretty good games. Really, I know Watford have been better, but they're still pretty good games on paper. And then, it's the City game after that, so you wouldn't expect too much there. But how much value are you going to get out of that transfer? I mean, aside from Jordan Henderson, you've mentioned, potentially you could get enough value there for it to be worth it. So maybe one to think about. But apart from him, surely that transfer later on in the season at some point is going to be with a higher ceiling attached to it. You're going to find, a 3-for-1, a 4-for-1.
Yeah.
You're going to find, Liverpool have started to completely rest their entire squad, or Man City have given up on the league and are cemented second and are focusing Champions League, or there's just that one individual day where Man City are playing on their own and Aguero suddenly starting and De Bruyne's rested, and you think, oh my God, I don't have a Man City captain for this day. I'm going to have to bring someone in just to have a captain. It's going to happen. So I say keep.
Yeah, I do as well. I mean, unless you've got something like over 20 transfers left or something like that, and you've got loads and loads of transfers, and you think... but I think across 2 matches, those 2 game weeks, your top whack is going to be 20 points. And I think, as you're saying with transfers, I think there could be opportunities around captaincy later in the season where you can really rack up those big scores. Well, that's the aim anyway. So yeah, I'd keep hold.
And that's it. If Ali gets 1 goal in these next 3 weeks, then he's easily.
Yeah.
It would have been a waste if you'd have got rid of him. In my opinion,
his fixtures are fine at the moment. I've still got him in the FPL game at the moment and happy to keep him this weekend. It's not Ali. I don't think it's an urgent. Oh my God, I've got to get rid of him. It's not like he's suspended or something like that. I think he's fine. He could potentially score. Yeah, keep. Another question. Lee Williams, are players like Mahrez a high rotation risk for Sky managers pre and post overhaul? So he's already starting to think about overhaul as well, and perhaps loading up a bit on City assets, or considering them post overhaul or on the overhaul. What's your thoughts on that, really? Around these assets like Mahrez, are they just a bit of a no-go?
Yeah, I'm having a bit of a debate on this one because I'm such a fan of Mahrez, and I did actually have him in my Sky team at one point when we thought Bernardo Silva was going to be banned for an extended period, and I brought him in. It didn't quite work out. He ended up playing hardly at all, and part of the reason why I had to claw back from a decent position because he sort of let me down. So it's hard to take that emotion out of it. But if we could say that Mahrez is nailed, and I don't think we can, then I would say, yeah, go for it. However, when you look at the overall points, Mahrez has 122 points, which is pretty good considering. I think he's only started 12 games. He started 12 games. He's actually been subbed on 6 times. So that is a factor for Sky because obviously you're going to get that 1 point. You don't have that player from the bench, so it's not as bad. It's actually good if they get subbed on, obviously. But then you look at, say, Pukki. So Pukki's 7.8 million. And Mahrez is 9.9 million. And Pukki's got 2 points less than Mahrez over the season. So I just think to myself, is it too much of a risk to take? Not only are you relying on him to continue that form, which is quite hard to do, but you are relying on him to keep those starts as well, to maintain it. Otherwise, there are plenty of players. I mean, Soyuncu's got more points than him. There's so many. Danny Ings has got more. Pariah's got more. The only thing that sort of draws me to it is the fact that there is just such a lack of midfielders, and you just think, well, if you've got De Bruyne, who's pretty much the outlier, everyone else in midfield just doesn't seem to be worth the money. Mahrez, you could potentially slip in there. You also have to factor in that Sky are very stingy with assists. Like Mahrez is racking up assists in FPL, and midfielders just, obviously assists are their bread and butter, and they keep getting chalked off because of various deflections and all other issues. So it appears like he's doing even better than he is when actual points, he's not getting a lot of those assists.
I agree. I think going forward in the game, KDB obviously is a must for me, and I would pair him up possibly with the likes of Sterling or Aguero mainly, but use Aguero as in use that slot up front as something. Look for those 3-for-1s, so Aguero can easily become an
interchangeable premium.
Just basically an interchangeable premium, and I think with Mahrez that would sort of potentially mess that up a bit. I prefer to invest that funds in those heavy hitters up front that I'm going to be captaining. Yeah,
or in fact, you have that interchangeable premium, but who can actually swap to Mahrez? Because obviously we can swap formations. So if you've got, I don't know, Salah sat in that position, for example, and then you think, Mahrez has got a 3-for-1 or a 2-for-1 over them if he starts, then you can obviously switch to a midfielder as long as you've got your formation set out right. So you can bring him in and out, and I think that's probably the better thing to do. especially as because Mahrez has been so good of late. I probably think that he will be starting Champions League games, and if that happens, they've just got too much quality all over the place. Bernardo Silva, Leroy Sané is
Yeah.
apparently coming back soon. I think Sterling's been on the bench for a couple of games in a row. That's not going to last either. So, yeah, I'd love to say yes, but
I mean, also with Sane, if Sane's not going anywhere in this transfer window, and the rumours are to believe that he wants to return to Germany, then it's shop window time. So he's potentially could be an asset in those final few game weeks of the season if Man City want to show him off to his potential suitors in Germany.
I think that's a good point because we don't know. I mean, he's obviously a player who's relied quite a bit on pace as well. He's had a really nasty injury, and we've seen in the past that can destroy people's careers. So, I think before you would buy a player like Sane, you would at least like to see him actually play and see if he's still up to his old standards. So, yeah, I think we could be seeing him feature. Because they've struggled on that left side all season, I think. Sterling's not really done a great job. He's been forced out there to the left. I mean, he's done a good job for the team. That's a bit unfair. But in terms of actually returning fantasy points for us and stuff, it's not been a great pick out there. So I think Sane might go in just to give them something different, especially when they've actually lost buccaneering Mendy. I mean, he's back and he's playing, however, he's not quite the same. So they haven't really got that sort of overlapping player on the left all season. So...
Yeah, let's move on to our team. So you've obviously revealed a lot who's in your thoughts for the captaincy. So I'll just go through your team. You've got Henderson in goal. Got a 4-3-3. Alexander-Arnold, Pereira, Sionju, Baldock, and in midfields, De Bruyne, Richarlison, Maddison, and up front Vardy, Rashford, Mane. So yeah, pretty strong lineup going into pre-overall. We've got all the key captaincy considered. And I do like Richarlison being there as a sort of plan B if you've got to quickly panic as you're making the kids dinner and you've realised that KDB's not playing, kind of thing. I'm presuming you've got no plans really to change this pre-overhaul. What are your thoughts?
No, the only thing that I might do is after Rashford plays Burnley, obviously Liverpool then have two games, which we've already mentioned, Wolves and West Ham, and then they have the third game. I can't remember. Is it Southampton they play? I can't remember who it is now. I have to think off heart.
Liverpool, is that or?
Yeah, so Liverpool. So we've got Rashford plays against Burnley on Wednesday, the 22nd of January. Then Liverpool play away to Wolves and away to West Ham in the double, like we know, on the 23rd and the 29th. So you're already getting, if I take Rashford out there, I'm getting a 2-for-1 there. But then you go on to the next week, and Man United are at home to Wolves and Liverpool are at home to Southampton. So you'd say largely quite evenly matched there as well. So, yeah, I'm essentially getting an extra 2 games from Van Dijk, who, if he continues, is 20 points. So, which could also end up being 30 points if they keep a clean sheet versus Southampton, and then Rashford doesn't do much against Wolves.
Even more if you decide to captain him, obviously.
Yeah, indeed, exactly that. So that might be the one move that I do, my final transfer, but I'll judge that.
How many transfers would that take you to overhaul then?
It would take me down to 14 because I'm on 15.
Okay, so that's. Yeah, that's fine, because I think in the top thousands, we're talking less than 10 transfers, less than 5 in many cases. Move on to my team, because this is going to be a quick bit looking at our teams really. So I've got Henderson in goal, Van Dijk, Alexander-Arnold, Sionju, Gilbert. I just sigh when I say him. Then I've got a 4-3-3 as well. De Bruyne, Maddison, and Grealish. Grealish, my emergency. Oh my God, I need a captain. When De Bruyne's not playing. I've got Vardy, Salah and Mane up top. So I'm fully Liverpooled up. Got the 17 transfers left, I think it was. Yeah, 17. I had 18 previous week. I had Ali, and then I moved Ali to Van Dijk. So Van Dijk's already got me my 10 points. His regulation 10 points. I'm hoping for more than that. I'm obviously look to do nothing there. I think I'm pretty much set with captaincy as long as they all show up. Salah Mane captaincy is the only big issue for me really. I am keen on the whole ceiling floor thing. I just think that Salah Mane can get me more than that 10 points in theory, especially the West Ham match. And I don't know, I might have a look at things like ownership, top 1,000. I mean, do you have any early thoughts, really, for those that have Salah Mane, if you go for Salah and Mane, which one would be the best to captain?
I currently think Salah is the better captain. Mane got man of the match to boost his points the other
Yeah.
week, and it was extremely dodgy. I mean, I don't know how he got man of the match in the game. He
Yeah.
clearly wasn't for me. So I think that was more of an ownership pick on Sky's behalf. But apart from that, I think Salah, in terms of shots and obviously the fact that he's going to be on penalties as long as Milner's not playing, just mean that Salah's slightly ahead for me at the moment. Mane's not looked that great in terms of on the eye in the last few games. He's looked a little bit tired. So yeah, I would edge slightly towards Salah for those games.
Yeah, I mean, I think I am there, which probably means I might do that horrible word hedging with my FPL team. Because if I go for Mane in that one, I'll probably go for Salah in the Sky team. That often doesn't work out because you just go for the best one. You want to do well in both formats, but sometimes it's inevitable. But in the meantime, Luke, good luck with Gameweek 24 and 25. We won't be back next week because obviously we're talking about all those matches that are taking place next week. We will the week after when we're talking in earnest about what we're going to be doing for the overhaul and some of our early thoughts there. But for the time being, Luke, good luck for the game week and thanks for joining me.
Yeah, good luck, Joe. I'll see you next time.